Iran's official media has confirmed that Iran's so-called supreme leader Khamenei has been killed in joint strikes by Israel and the United States. But the center of gravity of this conflict has now gone well beyond these two countries. In fact, multiple countries in the region of West Asia, or what America calls the Middle East, have been impacted. Specifically, the cities of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, countries of Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, airports, hotels, luxury complexes in these cities have been hit as these countries intercept missiles and drones coming in from Iran. Iran says this is retaliation. But why is Iran targeting cities, for example, Dubai, that actually have nothing to do with this conflict? The strategy seems clear. If global commerce and global economy and global aviation are brought to a standstill, because remember, flights have been cancelled across the region and many of these airports have had to have been evacuated as shocking images emerge from the region. Obviously, the assumption is that the West will come under pressure to come to the negotiating table. Will that happen? We'll find out from our distinguished panel of experts. I'm Barkha Dutt. This is the Mojo Story. Welcome to our live and continued coverage of the consequences of the Israel-Iran war. Khamenei has been killed. We've known this now for many hours, but the consequences of what is happening are being felt across multiple countries. This is no longer a war between Israel and Iran alone. This is a war that is now impacting multiple cities, multiple countries. In particular, Dubai has come under attack. The shocking images that you see on your screen for the last many hours, a luxury hotel, the Dubai airport, other airports, for example, in Kuwait, we've had hotels in Bahrain, we've had an airport in Abu Dhabi. All of these, you're seeing those images, have been hit as these countries intercept missiles and drones that are coming in from Iran. Trump has warned that there will be more actions from the United States and Israel as explosions are heard across cities. Here in India, the government has expressed its concern. It's a very, very delicate situation. The world should be bracing itself for several troubled days ahead. Let me introduce a very distinguished panel from different parts of the world with different perspectives. I want to welcome Lev Aaron to the program. He is a senior journalist from Israel. Namaste and welcome to the program. I also want to welcome military veteran General Shukla. General Shukla has been expertise on the changing nature of warfare, and we're seeing that. We saw it in Op Sindoor, we're seeing it here, where the battle is being fought in the skies, but the impact is being felt on the ground. I'm also very pleased to have with us from Israel a very, very senior former military veteran, General Israel Ziv. Thank you, sir, for your time. Grateful for that. I also want to welcome my colleague Anjana Shankar. She is a Gulf-based senior journalist. She will tell us what's actually happening on the ground in all of these countries. And I also want to welcome veteran diplomat Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee to the program. So as you can see, we have very many different perspectives on this program. General Ziv, I'd like to start with you. You are seeing that the pivot of conflict seems to have shifted quite deliberately by Iran to centers of global aviation, to centers of commerce, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Kuwait, Bahrain. That's clear strategy. But before I come to Iran's strategy, could you tell us what is the situation on the ground in Israel, where you are? Many people in Israel are calling this the last war with Iran. What do you mean by that, if you could explain, sir?
Yes, basically in Israel, most people are at home. Only vital businesses and services are action. And you know, people are of course in stress under the situation, because we think that this operation is necessary to take out the Iranian regime and the nuclear threat from our region. But at the same time, of course, there is a question of the cost, how long it's going to take, and etc., etc. One thing I need to say is that, you know, the option for agreement was on the table. Last week on Thursday, the second time on Geneva, the option was vital, was real. It was not kind of wrongly led situation, and the Iranians choose not to take it. So I think that Trump gave them a fair chance for before going to that massive attack.
May I ask you what you make of what seems to me, and I'm not a general, there's you and General Shukla for that, but I have reported many wars, and it seems to me a deliberate strategy by Iran to not target Israel as directly as they are targeting Dubai, Doha, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Bahrain. The Dubai airport has come under attack. The airport in Kuwait has come under attack. The airport in Abu Dhabi has come under attack. The strategy seems to be to bring global commerce, global aviation to a grinding halt, and hope that these countries will then put pressure on Trump to bring Iran back to the negotiating table. Is that your read as well, General Ziv?
No, absolutely, it's correct. But on the same time, I think there is a lot of, taste of revenge. In the end, they see the countries that you mentioned as a U.S. ally and kind of alignment between them and Israel as well. I think that they are very angry because of the attack, because of targeting the Ayatollah. So there is a lot of, I would say, sense of revenge by shooting civilian targets. Remember that the conflict between them as Shiites and the Sunnites is always there. It's always on the background. So I think it has some other tastes in the way they are operating right now. But don't mislead. They are shooting on urban areas, concentrated areas in Israel as well. But the defense system here is quite efficient. So you see less results according to the Iranian attention.
Okay, I'm going to open this up again. General Ziv, I know you're in a hurry, so stay as long as you can, hop off when you need to. Let me bring in Anjana here. Anjana, I'm not sure where exactly you are right now, but what can you tell us about what's happening in Dubai, Doha, Abu Dhabi? We know that all air operations have been suspended by Emirates. The airport is closed. Qatar Airways has suspended operations. We've seen hotels in Bahrain, the Crown Marina. We've seen Fairmont in Dubai come under attack. What can you tell us? Can we unmute Anjana, please? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm based in Abu Dhabi. And what I can say is, I have to tell you this. I'm a conflict reporter. I've covered many wars in the region and beyond. But this was the last thing that I ever imagined, that we'll have to report on a war which would, where UAE would be right at the heart of a conflict. And unfortunately, that is the situation here. So what we are seeing is definitely a dramatic escalation and how Gulf countries have been dragged into a war. And, I've been here in this region for more than 25 years. And ever since, like every time you talk to diplomats or you talk to UAE officials, attend conferences, there is one common narrative was one thing which UAE wanted was not to get dragged into a conflict or rivalry between Iran and Israel. That has been the core of their foreign policy. But that is what is unfortunately has happened. And overnight, people are, there's a little bit of panic here. There are two different kind of narratives happening on social media, or even when you talk to people, a lot of people who are taking it quite chill, they're very calm. People are going about with their business as usual, but there is also a little bit of panic because, psychologically it impacts you. This has long been a bastion of stability, always touted as one of the safest countries in the world. So people are not used to it, even when there is a region which is in the middle of a lot of protracted wars, civil conflicts and political instability. But Gulf as a region has always remained stable. So that's what people are used to. People are not even used to street crimes here, and then you're seeing explosions in the sky, this loud blasts. You can feel the impact on your balcony and on your windows. I mean, I felt it yesterday. Immediately I didn't understand what was happening, and then the news started trickling over that there was drone attacks. And yesterday I think it started with, we saw visuals of how Fairmont hotel in Palm, which is a very densely populated urban center.
Screen. It's on our screen right now. Yeah.
And also strikes, drone missile attacks in Abu Dhabi's airbase here. Most of them were intercepted, but debris fell, and first casualty was reported yesterday in Abu Dhabi. I think a Pakistani national died. So that was the first casualty for UAE, which definitely shows that Gulf countries are not just mere observers. So yes, last night was a very tense night, which was very crucial to see where this war is heading. Is there a major escalation, or will it be a single strike and a counter strike, and whether it will end there? But what we saw last night was definitely there's a major escalation, and we also see signs of a sustained military campaign from both sides. Both sides are not blinking, either the US or
I think,
Iran.
Anjana, you explained it very well, that so many people have, for example, gone to Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the belief that these are literally safe havens. These are countries that have kept themselves out of a sort of even geopolitical conflicts. They stay often on the margins. Their focus is on commerce, on emerging as global hubs of trade. And that is where Iran, clearly in its retaliation, seems to have pivoted. Al Arabia reporting that debris from drones has now fallen into the courtyards of 2 homes. If we can go to the Wall Street Journal update, there are ports now being targeted as well. A fire broke out this morning, in fact, at the Jebel Ali port after debris from an intercepted missile coming in fell. And again, the hotels, we are also getting reports that a part of the Dubai airport has sustained damage. We saw that happening in Kuwait. Abu Dhabi, I think we're getting that confirmation as well. Just before I come to General Shukla and Ambassador Mukherjee, Lev, quick perspective. You're in which part of Israel are you in, Lev? Can we unmute Lev?
Thank you.
Lev, Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm on the Lebanese-Israeli border in emergency room right now. We need to understand if we have a 2-front war or 1-front war. Right now, it seems like Hezbollah are not part of the game, but we still don't know. We hope it will be Iran only. And if we compare it to the 12 days war, the impact is much less.
Excuse me.
For one, because they also bomb Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Dubai, and so on. And also their capabilities after the 12 days war is much less. So there is a death toll. There is some kind of a panic. Always Purim and Holi are on the same date. And this time we will not have a Purim. We will not have a Holi in Israel. But still, it is not as severe as it was in the 12 days of the war until now.
All right, Lev, we'll come back to you. You said you're on the border with Lebanon. That's where the Hezbollah in particular has in the past been a threat. It's an Iran-backed terror group. So this is, General Shukla and Ambassador Mukherjee, this is not Israel-Iran war anymore. This is a West Asia war or a Middle East war. It has, General Shukla, taken countries that actually, as Anjana just explained, wanted to have nothing to do with the war being pulled in. And Iran doesn't have the military capacity to take on.
I just wanted you to
Anjana, you have a siren. Is that a siren? Yeah.
Yeah, it is an siren, and I get an alert saying, due to current situation, potential missile threats, seek immediate shelter in the closest secure building or steer away from windows. This happened yesterday also a few times. So this clearly shows, I'm very sorry I butt in to interrupt you, but this very clearly shows that this threat is ongoing.
Firstly, you must always interrupt when you hear an air raid siren. And secondly, you must, if you're not in a safe place, Anjana, please move to a safe place and then rejoin us. How often are you hearing these air raid sirens right now in the last 24 hours, you'd say?
Yeah, I heard one late night while I was sleeping, and then this is the first one in the morning. And I would put this in context because this morning, after we got confirmation of Supreme Leader Khamenei's killing, Iran has said that they will unleash the worst kind of attack, the most decisive attack over all the US bases and into the region. So we are bracing for something that's coming, for sure.
Stay safe. I like you said, I don't think anybody ever thought that Abu Dhabi, Dubai would be described as cities which would become war zones. I want to bring in General Shukla on the military dimension of what we're seeing, Ambassador Mukherjee on the diplomatic one. General Shukla, Op Sindoor deja vu. War has changed. Drones, missiles can be now deployed, weaponized to target spaces that are not those of combatants. Airports, we saw the Pakistanis attempt this with India in Operation Sindoor. Hotels, the strategy seems clear from Iran. How will the world respond? General Shukla.
So, Barkha, I think Iran simply lacks the precision capacities, so it is resorting to blunt disruption. Just keep firing all over the place. Yeah. But before that, if I may make 2 to 3 points about how the conflict has panned out. Yes. I'm told that the professional advice that President Trump received from the Chairman Joint Chiefs in a summary was that this is going to be high risk and high reward. So far, I think it has been pretty high reward because, at least in military terms, they've got the scalp of the supreme leader. So pretty successful decapitation strikes. And the risks haven't yet kicked in. One reason, why I think Trump or Israel and Trump simply had to make this regime go. There is now strong indications to suggest that the Iranians had resumed enrichment of uranium in that famous Pickaxe Mountain, and they were going to bury it so deep that it was going to be beyond the range of the B-2s in any future strike. And second, what was even more worrying was their missile capacities. They were taking them to the ICBM domain, which would enable the missiles to not only strike bases in West Asia, but Europe and the United States. Prime Minister Netanyahu was constantly telling President Trump that their Fateh 1 and Fateh 2 are hypersonics, which should be uninterceptable by Arrow, Iron Beam, Iron Dome. So I think these were the real drivers which forced President Trump to make that decision. To me, it also seems in hindsight that the Omani foreign minister, who was met by Mr. Vance and who went public all over American news channels suggesting that some kind of deal was in the offering, proved to be a useful idiot, and that was the ruse behind which the Americans hid to carry out this very successful decapitation strike on Saturday morning. The third point is we have to admit this. When the Americans did Venezuela, we said it is close home. When they get into an away game in Iran and Taiwan, they'll be in great trouble. But if you now study, the deeper mechanics, we have seen 5th generation digital warfare arrive conclusively. So you've seen the use of Claude AI, algorithmic warfare, layered capacity, space, EW, so on and so forth, which has enabled this thing to happen. And it is no longer a fluke or, a one-off thing. Israeli-American prowess in this domain simply has to be acknowledged. The tempo of operations, the 2 aircraft carriers, the aerial tankers, putting together such, overwhelming military power to such precise effect is something which, needs to be acknowledged. The last point I would like to make is that, I would also like to point to the lack of professionalism on part of the IRGC. The supreme leader should not have been in the compound. What was he doing there? When after all these warnings and, President Trump saying 10 days and you had him there, I don't blame him, but all the advisors around him, it is simply unprofessional. The second point is that after 2 to 3 years now, when the Iranians have they know what kind of threats are going to hit them, their responses have been pretty underwhelming. In terms of lethality, in terms of precision. So they just seem to be spraying drones and missiles all over.
But isn't there a method in that madness? I think that's the point.
Can I just make 30 seconds?
Yes, yes.
I don't see that so far. I mean, the military is hit to strike. They have to be casualties. I'm not wishing for civilian casualties, but I'm saying they don't seem to be lethal. And it is not once, twice, thrice. And the last point is their air defenses seem to be pretty feeble, ineffective. And here, every time we hear, Chinese 16 tankers landing, Russian 8 tankers landing, what are they carrying? Potatoes. Because they don't seem to be doing anything to the Iranian air defenses. So militarily, I don't seem to have much respect for the IRGC. And the larger lesson is that invest in professional militaries and not in ideological militaries. Ideological militaries are good for repression, not for warfighting.
Okay, General Shukla says he is not impressed with Iran's military counter, that it seems to be to literally shower the countries, the cities of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, countries like Kuwait and Bahrain with missiles and drones. But as Anjana mentioned, Master Mukherjee,
it's a blunt instrument, not a precise instrument. It's a technology-enabled movement.
So you say that as a man of uniform. I'm saying, imagine Dubai that has never seen conflict. Imagine Abu Dhabi that has never seen conflict, that is bustling only, that is built on commerce and tourism and trade, right? You see this, we see this as Indians, left sees this as an Israeli. We are battle hardened. I am, Ambassador Mukherjee, thinking of the level of panic this is going to create in a city like Dubai that has literally been insulated. Despite being in the, geopolitically in a sensitive place, has literally been insulated. What do you make of the direction this is going in? Will this put pressure on Trump to take a step back now that Khamenei is dead?
Well, Barkha, first of all, let me say in non-military diplomatic terms that what has happened to Khamenei is assassination from external power on a sovereign state. Diplomatically, that's the way it's defined. I don't call it decapitation. Moreover, when a regime is unpopular in a country that has been under colonial rule, has been colonized, treated badly, and then the external force says that because of certain reasons, some of which are very valid, like the development of nuclear weapon, etc., this person should be taken out. But he is the head of state or sovereign country whom you are taking out, along with his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter. They were all buried, all died together. This is not the time to discuss whether, with due respect to General Shukla, whether the Revolutionary Guard was effective or not. Certainly they were not effective. Extremely foolish to have them in the compound. But when you do this to a country like Iran that believes in martyrdom, that's a Shia country who had warned its neighbors several times that if we are attacked and our leader is taken out, we will attack all American military bases in the region. Then those leaders told the Iranians, we will not allow our bases, American bases, to be used for directly attacking Iran. And that is true. The attacks came from Israel and from the American strategic assets around that area. To the best of my knowledge, I am not aware that any military base of the Americans in these countries were used. Having taken out the supreme leader, this country, which believes in martyrdom, also believes in revenge. What they will try to do, Barkha, which is extremely alarming, is a continuation of what they are doing, which is they are terrorizing people in these areas. And don't forget how many million Indians we have there. You cannot imagine how many telephone calls I got last night from people who are stranded in Dubai. Because it is unthinkable that Dubai's airspace would be shut. Under those circumstances, what I am saying is that, can you hear me, Barkha? Because I seem to, okay. They are trying to put a brake on the economic commercial hubs that these regions represent. They have successfully managed to shut down airspace, which means millions of people are stranded all over, particularly in Dubai. And that these are in places which are totally unprepared for war. They've only seen war
Correct.
on movie halls. They've never seen it. They are not battle hardy like Indians. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would actually say that if this continues, let's say for 7 more working days, and along with that they damage the Straits of Hormuz, they would have got their revenge, because people would then blame the Americans, particularly Trump, so close to the midterms, because if oil prices go up, if the Straits of Hormuz is shut, let's say for 2 weeks, etc., the American allies in the region their economies would be devastated. It doesn't matter how many drones they are shooting down.
So
Some will get through.
is it your assessment, ma'am, that this could boomerang badly for Trump?
If it doesn't finish in 7 days, yes. If he manages to shut it down in 7 days with some kind of an agreement, and the agreement, Barkha, would be very similar to what we saw in Venezuela. In Venezuela, did he allow that Nobel Peace Laureate who foolishly gave up her prize money to Trump? Not that he needs any extra money. She thought she was going to become president of Venezuela. She did not. The same corrupt regime has just moved up one step further. The vice president is the president, and so on and so forth. In Iran, do you ever think, Barkha, that the son of the Shah of Iran, who lives in US, if he sets foot on Iranian soil, I can have a bet with you how long he'll survive. Huh? He will be killed at the airport itself. There is no way in which he can come back. So what is going to happen? Trump will make a deal with the rest and say, look, boys, we've taken out your commander-in-chief. Now you guys behave. We'll let you continue. If you don't, we'll take out the second in command, etc. There's going to be no regime change. This is an imagination. You can't impose regime change on Iran. Iran, if you could not do it in Venezuela, you think you could do it in Iran with so many volatile areas around them? No. There will be no regime change, Barkha. Once again in your show, I stick my neck out and say, Khamenei's successor will be selected. They have a kind of a system very similar to selecting the Pope, and they will put somebody in place. That person hopefully will be reasonable and will be able to do a doable deal with Trump. Because Barkha, regardless of what my co-panelists are saying, there is lots on social media floating from American negotiators who are being anonymous and saying there was a deal. There was actually a deal, but they didn't want the deal. They wanted to take out Khamenei.
So Ambassador Mukherjee, as usual, has been very, very precise and has said that there will be no regime change. Before I get General Shukla and left to respond, Anjana, I felt like you were getting some news, some information. I could see it on your face. One reporter recognizes this on another reporter's face. What can you tell us about what you're picking up in Abu Dhabi?
No, I mean, there's no official confirmation or anything. I'm sitting very close to my window. If I could just show you, that's where I can see, the Abu Dhabi skyline. And we heard a couple of booms. Yeah. So, you're suddenly wondering whether there's anything that we need to worry about.
But do you want to respond to Ambassador Mukherjee's point that these are cities where war is only seen on movie halls? The Israelis, for example, I was interviewing Israel's former envoy to India at 2 a.m. in the morning yesterday as news came in that Khamenei was killed. And there were sirens through our conversation and he didn't even blink. So Israelis are used to this. Indians are battle-hardened. The people of the UAE, they ain't seen nothing like this. Anjana.
But Barkha, there is something which I need to tell you,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying this in a very sycophantic manner. Though we are not people of the UAE and not used to it, there's something very unique about it, and that's what I'm reading on social media. People have this, an extra level of confidence on the leadership and on how the authorities are managing this. So,
Yeah.
I see a lot of messages saying that, I still feel much safer here, for example, than walking on the streets of London and things like that. And this is, people are not just hyping it up, but there is that sense. And I think authorities since yesterday have been giving out consistent messages, and the way things have been handled, the quick responses, the social media messaging, and also, even we know that hundreds and thousands of people, at least 22,000 people, if I am correct, are stranded currently at the Dubai airport. And there are messages saying that the UAE authorities are going to take complete charge of their expenses, accommodation. But I mean, which part of the world would this happen? We Indians are used to getting stuck at the airports and flights delayed for
Yeah.
hours, people complaining, tempers raging. But so there is this sense of confidence in the leadership for sure. But again, as I said, the psychological element of seeing these explosions or hearing these booms, even for someone like me who are used to, I was in Ukraine a few months ago, and hiding in the bunkers and getting these missiles and drone strikes every day and every night. But still, it plays in your head. And a question that a lot of people, why UAE residents or even people are across the Gulf countries, what is baffling them is, it is difficult to understand what is Iran's gamble here by attacking the Gulf countries. I want to point out a few things that is very relevant to this context. One, we are very close neighbors to Iran. Dubai and Iran. And
Yeah.
despite these decades of sanctions that Iran had, one of the reasons why Iran's economy, though there is a economic collapse now, but why they sustained these sanctions, one of the reasons is definitely its trade with Dubai. That's very active. And there are more than, I think, 2 lakh Iranians living here. There's close relationship. And though, as I said, the region never wanted to be dragged into this rivalry between Iran and Israel. And that is what they have been always trying and talking about.
I know, and
But
that's
still,
my point. That is actually, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you short here. That's actually my argument, and in a way, Ambassador Mukherjee's argument to General Shukla and Lev. And let's hear from them now, because I believe that we all agree that the Revolutionary Guards did a terrible job of protecting their leadership, General Shukla. Clear. We all agree that there is no military capacity as an equal contender to take on the Americans or the Israelis, and hence the Iranians seem to be creating havoc in regions and cities that have never seen anything like it. Let me get a quick comment from Lev. Lev, we've just seen a statement from Israel saying it has dropped. The Israeli Air Force says they've dropped 1,200 bombs on Iranian positions in the last day of ops. Where do you see this going? Are you concerned as an Israeli that the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, these are countries that could now say to Trump, end this now? Lev.
Look, we are all, we know that we really need the Abraham Accords. And in this sense, we need Bahrain and the Emirates on our side. But if we look at the big lesson, and I go back to what the ambassador says, that one big thing that we learned from the 12 Days War is what really keeps dictatorship regimes alive is not the fear of the big leader, it's not the fear of Putin or Khamenei. It is the ruthless middle layer of the secret police and security services who know exactly whose door to knock on and who drag you to questioning, and sometimes you vanish. And in this sense, we still do not see that the secret services of Iran are panicked enough to finish this regime. So in this sense, we need to see tomorrow, day after tomorrow, if we see good news from Iran.
Shukla, let's come to you. You said you're not impressed. And Ambassador Mukherjee says, okay, you're not impressed, but Iran may achieve. Look at this photograph. I want to tell you a story with the photograph on the screen. A friend of mine was stranded in Dubai, right next to Fairmont, where missiles were intercepted, and we saw a part of the luxury hotel on fire. He's now in a car trying to somehow flee. He's an American, trying to somehow flee into Oman. And he captured this on his phone, right? This is what people who go to business for Dubai, people who live in Dubai, tourists, businessmen, bankers, software engineers, they go to Dubai because they think Dubai is not a war zone. They go to Dubai because they think Dubai is not political. They go to Dubai because it's insulated. Is Iran achieving something here by punching above its weight in a chaotic fashion?
See, I'll reiterate. Iran is doing this because they have not developed military capacities for the political leadership to exercise. It is simple. When, say, in peacetime, the Indian military argues for peace capacities, some may call it jingoism. I say you build capacities because the use of those capacities are a political option. They just expand political options. And that is why a country like India is in the happiest place, because the control of the military debate is settled. Now we must invest in capacities, the exercise of which will always be political options. And this is where Iran and America have a distinct advantage over the Iranians, political militaries versus ideological militaries. So IRGC is concentrating on, building the ranks of besieged, taking down repression to every mosque. But when they are challenged militarily, they have no response. Now, where does this go from here? Now, see what should worry us even more. And it seems pretty apparent, if the Americans and the Israelis together, and here, Trump and Netanyahu are outliers, very distinct outliers. If they get control of the skies, if they manage to suppress the radars, they could, over a period of time, hunt down the leadership from the air. And at a much later date, when they think they have got some kind of control, they could insert ground forces. So I do acknowledge that regime change is a very difficult proposition, but we must not rule them out, because Netanyahu and Trump are very different kind of players. And here Israel has got, its Mossad, its Kurds. I think something is cooking. It could happen. It's not going to happen easily.
Can it happen from the skies?
Yeah,
Has there ever been a regime change from the skies?
Very, very interesting point. Now, may I make 2 points?
Yes.
The last time it happened, to my knowledge, was in Yugoslavia. Thereafter, merely control of air did not allow regime change. But the kind of control of air you have today with this 5th generation algorithmic digital kind of warfare, you have got complete control of the skies. You are operating with gay abandon. And once you do that, it is a possibility, something which Trump and Netanyahu may risk. The last point I would like to make is that what will, cause Trump to pull back is not these kind of disruptions, but American body bags. If those American body bags start reaching home and he comes under domestic pressure, his poll numbers are already low, but those body bags are not reaching because the IRGC military seems to me, at least as of now, pretty blunt. The only tool they have perhaps up their sleeves is those hypersonics, which they unleashed last time. If they come, we'll see how they fare. But on current evidence, it seems to me that, the Israeli-American military, they have a distinct advantage over the IRGC.
Okay, so I just want to say, General Shukla, there's no two ways about who has the more commanding military, who has the capacity. But if you see the images on your screen, Anjana can say these are the kind of scenes we're seeing from airports. This is, I'm told, this is Dubai. This is a scene from Dubai airport. My producers are telling me we are also seeing evacuations that took place at the Dubai International Airport in the midst of thousands and thousands of passengers stranded. Ambassador Mukherjee, let me bring you in. You believe there will be no regime change. So we also have to acknowledge that Trump has different priorities and Netanyahu has different priorities. This is a coordinated operation, but the two men don't have identical political goals. Trump may have also wanted to change headlines at home. Trump has a midterm coming. Israel has a very different mindset when it comes to protecting itself. By the way, the video you see on your screen is of evacuations taking place at Dubai International Airport. As parts of it faced missile debris as they were intercepted over the skies of UAE. We also have reports that one of the runways close to the Fly Dubai operations has sustained damage. So, Ambassador Mukherjee, it's over to you.
To say that overwhelming military power, whether from the sky or on the ground, does not necessarily result in changing the mindset or regime change. And one prime example of a country that has destroyed empires is Afghanistan. If you look at Afghanistan, what military power did they have? Even now. But they're giving the Pakistanis a good bashing. As far as Americans are concerned, there is a very big difference between Americans and Israel. Israelis and Indians are very similar. When we go in, we are ready for the body bags, and the country is ready for body bags. Whereas it was a famous American military historian who said that using air power is like having an affair. It provides satisfaction without commitment. I can't think of a better way of describing this kind of air power from the air. How much are they going to go? It's a densely populated country. 50% believe in jihadi ideology. Everyone believes in martyrdom. The attacks are on Sunni countries and on Americans and on those and on Israel whose right they don't accept to exist. So what I'm saying is Trump, whose popularity rating right now is 38%, is he going to risk American body bags because he can bring regime change if he puts boots on the ground? The Israelis will have no hesitation in doing that. But if, let's say, even 10 body bags come, or worse than that, Barkha, let's say that 20 jihadis in Iran capture 5 American soldiers, oh my God, then you will see images that I don't want to see. Okay? And when he does this, let's not forget one more thing. These jihadis are spread all over the world. We should know that, no? Barkha, you and I, we live in India. These jihadis will go after innocent American citizens everywhere. They could bring down a civilian airliner. They could do anything. These are desperate people and they want to take revenge. So it's not so simple to say that, yes, there is overwhelming military power. Please look at the history of Afghanistan till today. Right from the time of the British Empire, when they exterminated every British soldier except one. They cut his tongue off. They can come to see and write down the tale, but not speak it. These are the kind of people you deal with in Afghanistan. There's not much difference in Iran. In fact, I would say the Iranians, after the horrible way in which, I'm not an admirer of his, but it was a horrible death with his entire family, buried in rubble, being dragged out right now, they will take revenge. Of course they will take revenge.
Okay, that's a EPA. And EPA is like having an affair, as you just quoted. Let's take final comments. Jalal Shukla, just hold on. We also have details. This is how warfare has changed. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the US strikes on Iran used Anthropic's cloud just hours after it was banned by Trump. So there are just wheels within wheels on the changing nature of warfare. I want to start taking last comments. Lev, you're in an emergency room, but you're all smiles. This is the difference between what Israel has got used to over the years and what Abu Dhabi and Dubai never thought they'd have to see. What are your last thoughts, Lev, as we leave you in a safe space?
First of all, you're right. In Israel, we have it like for the last 2 decades with Iran, even for the last 3 decades. It is not like Dubai or Abu Dhabi that you go to rest or you go to do business. But on the other hand, these are the things that at the beginning you are panicked, and after 1 or 2 weeks you're getting used to it. So I guess also Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai will have the same taste as Israel, and let's hope for peace.
Okay, so that is, you can see how the difference is when countries are used to battle over many years. They have a very different perspective. Anjana, what are the UAE authorities saying to people right now? How are they communicating with people and what are they conveying?
UAE authorities, since yesterday, since the attacks began, have been using social media platforms of various authorities, regulatory authorities, telling people first, most importantly, not to panic and not to spread fake information or rumors. There are pictures, animated images of past fire incidents and things like that being shared. Yesterday, I'm sure you must be aware that there were a lot of videos and messages saying that Burj Khalifa was being evacuated, people running out. None of this turned out to be
But
true.
then we were told at 2 in the morning there was damage to it, and I wasn't able to independently verify that.
No, later there was an incident where I think there was an interception. But the fact that yesterday, early in the afternoon, that the entire place was evacuated and all of that. So there's a lot of the rumor mills are fast working. So that's one very important message. Second is not to panic, follow instructions, and as I said, this reinforcement that the things are under control. The UAE's air defense systems are doing very well. And as you know, there were 137 missiles launched. Iran launched 137 missiles in a span of 24 hours into the UAE territories, and most of them have been intercepted. 209 drones.
That's the Burj, by the way, on the screen right now. Yeah. I
So
think in a long shot.
209 drones were fired, and also most of the 196 of them intercepted. So these are the messages the UAE authorities are giving people. And of course, as you said, there are these alerts that are coming in, and there are updates on information from various the civilian targets, what has happened, how many casualties, injuries, and things like that. So there is a consistent flow of information that people can count on. So that is what the authorities are saying. But overall, you are witnessing all of this playing out on social media, and people know that there is a serious concern this time, because this escalation has definitely all the characteristics of an open conflict, because these are not proxy level or non-state actor level attacks on the UAE or on Gulf countries. These are missiles crossing sovereign territories, launched into another country, and definitely a multi-front response from Iran, not just hitting Israel, but almost 6 Gulf countries simultaneously. That is serious escalation here. And people are worried.
Let me get a quick comment from Ambassador Mukherjee and give General Shukla a kind of expansive closing remark, because I know he'll have a lot to say. Ambassador Mukherjee, India's response, we've just said we're concerned. We have many Indians in these areas, living there, working there, tourists, what do we do? Evacuation flights are also not possible right now. I can't hear. Yeah, start again, ma'am. Yeah.
The Indian embassy in these regions and consulates have told our Indians there not to panic, not to move out, to strictly follow the instructions of the local authorities. And we cannot do anything until the airspace gets free again. There are some Indians who are trying to drive from Dubai to Oman, and as far as the medical students mainly from Kashmir who are stuck in Iran are concerned, they are staying put because they say they want to give the exam. I don't see much panic there either. But what I am trying to say is that the repercussions will be felt if it continues beyond 7 days. If it's up to 7 days, for Trump, it's manageable. But if it's going to, let's say, drag on for 3-4 weeks, then it would affect global oil prices, global supplies, and people who are stranded at the airport, even if their requirements are taken care of, as our colleague said, they are in a state of panic. I've received a lot of phone calls from people who are panicking. There are people who are not in the airport because they haven't gone there. They have important business and other appointments, either in Delhi or in the US, because it's a good transit point to go to US. And they are now looking at the possibility of being stranded there maybe for 3-4 weeks minimum. So it's a very serious situation. And as far as we are concerned, personally, we have an amazing strategic partnership with Israel, which is virtually like our best friend, as you would have seen from the semantics of Prime Minister Modi's visit. On the other hand, we have always tried to have excellent relations with Iran to checkmate Pakistan. Shiite Iran and
Yeah.
India have a long historical relationship. So the press statement that came out actually was a masterpiece of diplomacy. It gave
Yeah.
no commitment, no condemnation. It called for peace and tranquility because, Barkha, in this particular case, India is between a rock and a hard place. We've just
Yeah.
finished a highly successful Prime Minister's visit to Israel, and we have announced that Israel is one of our closest friends, strategic partners, collaborate. 15 MOUs were signed, etc. On the
Yeah.
other hand, we cannot be seen to be openly endorsing regime change in a sovereign country through brute force from outside. So it's
Absolutely.
very tricky for India. I think the spokesperson's statement was wise and delivered in a calm way. But as things go on and pressure comes from Indians stranded there, we will have to think with the cooperation of the authorities and Israel how to get them
Yeah.
back. One thing would be to get them to come to Israel first and then see how to move them out of Israel. Barkha.
Okay, General Shukla, I'm giving you the last word. I just want to read out Trump's latest statement. Iran just stated that they're going to hit very hard, harder than they have ever hit before. They better not do that, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. Now, it's escalating. Ambassador Mukherjee says there's a 7-window time frame. Otherwise, this can go wrong for Trump. I give you the closing word, sir.
So, I mean, I have no comment on Trump. This is typical Trump, but I have 2 to 3 other points to say because I
Yes.
think they are pretty relevant in our context. See, Venezuela, absolute resolve should tell us that it is no longer a battle between air power and boots on the ground. These are old debates. In Venezuela, we saw air power, we saw the Delta Force, which was boots on the ground, but more importantly, layered capacities, space, EW, so on, which gave you an intelligence picture, the virtual pattern of life of Maduro. What he did for the last 4 days and what he was likely to do for the next 48 hours, which enabled Delta Force, a ground force, to choose its points of extraction, insertion and extraction. I'm saying we should move towards these sophisticated capacities. If the political leadership understands the utility of force and invests in force, it will give you dividends. I mean, if you had put 10 generals, including me, on D-1 before absolute resolve, you would have said, don't do it. I mean, it was like picking up Maduro from a cantonment. So if you seriously believe in your military, understand its nuances, invest in it, and are a little lucky, it is no longer about air power versus boots on the ground. It is a sophisticated coming together of these capacities. Secondly, I keep saying this, civilians must be more demanding of their military. If they are more demanding of the military and questioning of their military, it will deliver far better, apart from resourcing. And the third point, the whole lesson here is that when you invest in centers like Dubai and so on and so forth, economic centers, productivity centers, you also have to look at defense. Look at Europe, the richest cohort in the world, neglected defense, and where is it today? So the lesson for India, at least, is that when you are seeing these missiles flying in distant places, heed the words of your Prime Minister who said Sudarshan Chakra. And much of that Sudarshan Chakra capacity, Iron Dome, Iron Beam, today AD interception costs, high energy lasers, Barkha, are zero. So if you invest in technology, see where you will go. And India has the talent. India has the capacity. If we invest in our instrument of force and if force and diplomacy come together, we'll be this Viksit Bharat. Or we may also be faced with this prospect someday if we don't invest, missiles. Today, Delhi, the only challenge is pollution. But if we are not careful, it'll be these missiles flying all over.
Well, General Shukla, we had a taste of it in Op Sindoor.
Yes.
We had
So
missiles
we must invest
targeted
more and more
towards Delhi.
And Barkha, I am repeatedly saying this. I'm not making an argument for war fighting. I'm making an argument for deterrence. Invest in these capacities so that you don't have to see this pain.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been an excellent conversation. It is going to be a volatile few days. I think the world must brace for some tough times ahead. What happens between Israel, Iran, and America will impact the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, It is already impacting major cities, major points of commerce, major points of global trade. We have thousands, hundreds of thousands of people unable to fly from point A to point B. Khamenei is dead, but Ambassador Mukherjee reminds us that Iran is not Venezuela. General Shukla is not impressed with Iran's military response, believes the response is chaotic, but sometimes, sorry, General Shukla, you're saying something. आवाज नहीं आ रहा सर हाँ अब
I'm saying that thus far its response has been lackluster.
नहीं, that we're in agreement with you. The only thing that, as Anjana reminded us, is that this has the capacity to destabilize cities that have never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And
But Oman has also come under attack as we talk.
Oh, I see.
Drone strikes
Do
in
give us
Oman
the-
commercial
do give-
port. So that was the 6th Gulf country that Iran has attacked in the last 24 hours.
Well, thank you for that update. So now General Shukla is saying something. Yes.
I said ships are already not transiting the Strait of Hormuz. So maritime disruption has already occurred.
So that's what I said. Global trade, global aviation, global commerce, oil prices, the general sense of, these areas being the safest areas. It was often said that the UAE sits in the middle of one of the most sensitive areas in the world, and yet it's never had to battle terrorism because its management of security, its management of its own interests has always been so effective. But when a country basically sends drones into your country, into highly populated residential areas, what can you even do? I was told that Ambassador Mukherjee wanted to say something, but I don't actually see her on the screen. There she is. Ma'am, go ahead, quickly. Yeah, and now I don't see Lev. Could we bring him back? Yes. Ma'am, I can't hear Ambassador Mukherjee. Yes,
can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I said that's why I reiterated that Trump needs to finish this within 7 days. After 7 days, it will have a huge impact on his midterm elections. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I think that point is taken. Anjana, you mentioned Oman. We're seeing the images from Oman now on our screen. Oman coming under targeted attacks from Iran that has basically decided that its strategy at this point is not to battle the Israel or the American military, but to create hell for 6 Gulf countries. And how the world now responds to this. This is Oman's Dukma, am I saying this correctly? Dukma commercial port that has been targeted by 2 Iranian drones, and a worker has in fact been wounded, Oman State News Agency is now reporting. I was just going to say, in the midst of all this, Lev has a philosophical sort of calmness about him that captures the very distinct Israeli response from how the rest of the world is responding. Lev, we wish you well. Anjana, we wish you safety. To General Shukla and Ambassador Mukherjee, it is always a pleasure to learn from both of you. And earlier to General Ziv with his very no-nonsense explanation of what is going on. We thank him as well. This is going to be a busy Sunday for all of us, so do tune back in. We'll have live coverage through the day. Take care, stay safe, and see you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.